Okay.
We need to, I would want to know what your vision is for between those buildings, whether we drop fiber into the other building, or if we pick up and use some, I've used this with other vendors, I'm familiar with NanoBeam and things like that. Some system that we can get the bandwidth we need, but we need to transmit this information. My server is in my office, whatever the board decides to do with that information, centralizing or whatever, that, you know, all that can be worked out. But we need to strengthen the bridge between those two buildings so that I can secure the information. Also, would you, your working knowledge of the violations that can happen with HIPAA and information, who becomes responsible if there's a breach, things like that, where you can work with us. I know there has to be a business agreement.
Yep, be standard BAA between us.
And so on. And so things like that are things that are first and foremost on my list, other than getting equipment replaced and upgrading field computers. These are the things that worry me because I'm very concerned about our information being protected for our patrons.
Sure. I'm going to answer that two ways.
Okay.
So the first thing, not knowing the infrastructure that you have there, but also I'm an ethical hacker by trade. That is something that I do very well. I would never put a wireless bridge between those two locations. I don't care what your encryption is, I can break it. Doesn't matter.
I agree with you, and that's why I requested fiber for both buildings.
Yep. You definitely want to have a hard line. A hard line is something we can measure and secure a lot easier. It's a lot harder to do what's called a man in the middle, because I would physically have to put a tap on one of those fiber lines. And with you guys, any place down here, you're going to know if you've got somebody messing around in your data centers or where your cables are, okay? You're going to know if you see me out there, don't go box. So I would never do a wireless bridge. And to answer your question on the fiber itself, I'd have to physically look at your location, look at the buildings, and tell you what to do. But I would definitely do a physical connection. Please do not.
Agreed.
Ever. Buy the best wireless there is, doesn't matter, I can break it.
Yep.
What about his question on the liability?
Good question. So we have a standard non-disclosure agreement with standard BAA. So we keep cyber insurance for a reason, okay? There's something called the SAFE Act. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. So the SAFE Act was put in place by Homeland Security. We are actually a member of that. I have submitted our cyber incident response plan to Homeland Security. So right now we are certified for submitting, okay? We are going through that process because I believe what we do is very, very secure. So what does that mean? That means we understand that we take the responsibility for HIPAA violations and data breaches. And it states that in our BAAs and our EBAs, okay? Now, something food for thought for you guys being a county organization. So with that, any member that's part of the SAFE Act organization, the short version, no one entity can be held 100% accountable. However, every entity has some accountability, right? So you guys will see that in our standard work. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes, and we have to do turn in an update basically yearly that we've been doing for several years in a row now, showing what we're doing to improve our network and keep ourselves out of trouble on
Absolutely.
this HIPAA issue, which has stagnated. We've tried to get these things corrected, but haven't. You would work with us on that to make sure that what we have to turn in yearly would be.
It is. So let's talk about that very thing. So depending on your requirements, we actually have HIPAA compliancy and PCI compliance and SOX compliance software that we do for all of our customers, whether it be biannually, quarterly, or annually. If yours is only annually, fine. We will come in and we will do the HIPAA compliance scan across your network. You will get a certificate that says whether you are or not, and it will also generate your policies and procedures for HIPAA guidelines. That's a huge document, and you're going to want to put it on your binder, and it's for your audit. That's what it's for. It's saying you have gone through these things. And it hits everything from physical security to network security. That's something that's part of our package. I really believe in doing that. I love doing audits. I know it's weird, but I really like the auditing part of it. That's something that we do all the time. It's kind of exciting. Now I'll tell you, there's a saying, compliant does not mean secure. So you may pass HIPAA compliancy, we're going to help make sure that you're actually secure. That was a good one.
It concerns me each day.
It should. It should.
Well, and the fines keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So,
Your support 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I saw something here about 8 to 5, so I wasn't sure.
Okay, so we're 24/7, so let's talk about that. The managed support team, where I have the full staff answering the phones, is 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. However, that same phone number rings 24/7, and a live body picks up the phone. Helps you. Okay. If he's not had coffee at 3 in the morning, that's fine. If he misses the call, like I said, it rolls to another person. Better not do all the way to me, but sometimes it has. It has. Christmas was the first time, and I said, that's okay. I'll take care of it. Fire protection districts actually are the ones that will call most often.
It doesn't happen too often with that 911 sheriff, something like that.
It's something major.
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, if they're calling at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's because a server's going down and they can't dispatch.
I'm gonna call you at 2 o'clock.
I have 4 kids, I may be up 2 o'clock in the morning.
Very good. You did very well by answering questions.
I appreciate it. I really take pride in what we do. You know, coming from an organization as big as I came from to a family-owned company, it's really, we have a particular culture, right? We want to have a relationship and a friendship with our clients. It's just something that we really believe in. That's why we've been around for 47 years. So we try to carry that forward everywhere we are. If you guys have a question, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you. We're straight shooters. I'll get the answer, but I might know right away. The one thing that we pride ourselves in is none of my technicians, branch managers, et cetera, will have any calls. Because if they do, they won't. We don't have a place. So we're here if you need us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry you had to wait.
No, it's okay. We're here for you.
Andy, are you sure you're gonna have one more?
No, I was looking through all the questions I've asked to make sure. And I don't know.
Yeah, I got a couple more.
Oh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't have one.
And I have to tell you that it was refreshing to hear you say I don't want it, because a lot of times that proprietary information is not taken seriously.
Oh, yeah.
No. Because if it weren't, I'll secret meeting.
You did very well today.
That's what we do.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And then talk to the board.
You close the meeting.
We need to adjourn.
What
Do you have anything?
No, I would just say, for one thing, I thought all 5 presentations were good. As far as the presentations, what I've done is with my notes, and I've looked over of, so that we can come to a consensus on this, is, of course, taking into consideration the presentation that they gave, what they offered, and reading some of this stuff, we could do, is we rate them. I think that we ought to rate them from 1 to 5 individually, so that when we talk, maybe we can weed some of these out. I mean, because we're gonna have to come to a consensus on, number 1, is this what we want to do? And number 2, if we do this, then who? And so, I would suggest that we go through the materials. We've got 8 hours worth of tape if anybody wants to see it, and come back and like I say, rate them 1 through 5, and then if we have a consensus on the top 2, we can talk. But because we're gonna have to get to this somehow. That's the only thing that's the best idea I've got anyway. And with that, I'd like to talk to these guys too, because they're the nuts and bolts of it, and I do. And Crystal, you were here for all. I think Grant, you were here for, and so were you for all. You heard all 5 of them. I think Sheriff, you heard what, 3?
3.
Yeah.
Tammy heard 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Tammy. Yeah. So I value you guys' input also. I was in impressed with all five, actually. All five gave good presentations. Some people said some things that I really like to hear. So, that's my opinion. You know, I'm gonna give it, so. But we gotta get there somehow.
Well, if that's the case, if we want to hear what they've got to say, we need to do that now.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, we're scheduled to vote on this the next meeting.
Right, and right here is,
That's a week from Friday.
you guys are the ones that were here. So, yeah, let's hear it.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, well, or good or bad. I mean, you know, well, you know, I'll say something, but I'll let you guys
I
say.
asked for a couple of you out there in the hall, what you thought, say what you think. Nobody's gonna hold it against you.
Well, I agree that all the ones that I heard, I only heard 3 of the 5 this morning, I couldn't be here this morning, but I agree they're all good, and they all make good, great points. But I think one of the things that, for me, as a consideration is, one, look at the ones that's already working with the other counties, they're already familiar with how the counties work and function. That might be an asset to us. And then, you know, the backgrounds, I mean, this is like this last presenter, I mean, sounds like he really knows, you know, what he's talking about. So for me, I mean, that would put that, you know, as one of those up here kind of thing.
And realizing you guys haven't seen the cost figures, I know.
That was my next question. Out of the last 2 in particular, how close are they, Angie, do you know?
Last two are pretty,
They're close.
they're close. And I'll say this, just, the first one that talked, Scott, you weren't here, but you guys gave an excellent presentation. I can tell you right now, we can't afford them.
Yeah,
No
I
way.
agree.
I mean, double.
but the rest of them are all within
Yeah.
dollars. The cost part's not the
Okay.
problem on the rest of them.
And I'll go back and watch those 2. I'll try to go back and look at
Yeah.
those, because I.
Oh, he-
The first one was very professional. I mean, he was kind of like this guy. He did an excellent job. If we had the money, it wouldn't be a problem. I mean, I think they would be good, no doubt.
Yeah.
I'm impressed to see how much work is going into making sure that they're protecting the entity, not now, but for years to come. That, we need this desperately.
Well, your last two presenters with yours showed a genuine concern, both of them, and that impressed me. That's why I come back and told you guys.
That's why I was saying the last 2 in particular, for me, seem to ring pretty true with what we need.
I agree, I think the last 2 were most impressive, and I didn't even know who was showing up, but I can tell you the last group, Williamson did have one person, I mean, he's correct on that. And my husband works for Williamson County, and I didn't know these people were gonna be here, but I haven't heard any complaints. You know, I haven't heard of any problems that mentioned, you know, working with this company.
Oh, yeah, in county government, you would if there was, so that's a good sign.
You know,
Well, for me, 2 things stand out. Number 1, tech guys with them being local, with us using tax dollars, I think that's a huge consideration. The second one was the last presenter talking about the proprietary information of 911 and how they don't dial in. That's what Jana was preaching and what I preached. We have to take care of that information. We can't just open it up to anyone to dial in and to access.
And he was very candid with it.
Yes, and for him to say, absolutely not, someone will be on scene to do it, that really sticks out to me.
That would be a good follow-up point for anybody we would consider a finalist, I think, is to see if their services would include that as part of it, or if that's gonna raise the cost, then
Yeah.
we need to know that up front.
I think your last presenter made an effort to take more responsibility for if something went wrong, I'm the guy carrying the professional liability.
So what are we hearing? Just, who's your top 2?
Now you really put them on the spot.
Absolutely. Well, again, guys, I mean, and I'm serious about this. We want the best for our employees. But what we're looking at is what's best for our employees and the bottom dollar. I mean, we have to look at the money. That's our job. So, since you guys don't know the money, you tell us who your top two were.
Two this
The
afternoon.
last two.
Mine would be
Do you
the,
agree with that?
Last two.
mine would be the last one, and then tech guys simply because they are local. I think they should be a
And
real
that's a valid point.
consideration that we preach to the community, shop local, shop local, shop local, and then to not give them that opportunity.
Well, would the board consider bringing back 3 out of the 5 to do a final presentation or something?
Yeah.
That we can include a local vendor to make sure that maybe by the end of the day, you start formulating your questions differently. At the beginning of the day, you know, you've got.
They all gave
a
an
bunch.
overview. They all
And-
gave it
And
all.
we kind of started honing in on what our needs were. So if we brought the top 3 out of the 5 back, then we'd have our questions prepared equally for each of those gentlemen and flush out whatever you think the decision is. You know,
And I was impressed with him this morning.
he did a good
Yes.
job this morning,
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
good
we did a
job.
good
our
job.
local vendor,
I
yeah.
think all 5 of them did a good job presenting.
But I think we need to draw out really the pros of each one of them, and we want to look and then zero in on the cons, that if that's not included, can it be, or would it be? Because just like, there was 2 of them, I think, that talked about, it was free to design our web-based, webpage or whatever,
Yeah.
so I think that's important.
That's a very good point.
Very important to us, and, you know, and the other consideration certainly for me and Crystal both is on-site. If we got something with our 911 server, we've never really liked the idea of opening that up remotely, never. I just think that, why take that risk? Why do that? And our last presenter, you know, absolutely said, no, don't do it, so.
I want to add to what he's saying. I'm happy to hear if you're going to be in my server or into one of my workstations, that I am to know.
Yes.
There was some that talked about, you'll never even know we've been there. No, I want to know you've been there, and I don't want to have to derive that from a report a month later. I want to know that day.
We didn't have access to that on demand, and I think a few of them addressed that, but not everybody did, and that was a little troubling.
So if you're gonna rate them, Danny, I think that's how we do it.
I mean, that's the only way I know to do it. And then come to a consensus on, okay, who is our top 3? You know, if we rate them and then we can either have them come back, or from those top 3, then we can look, okay, at the prices, which, well, I have to say probably they'll be all close. They're pretty close. And then make our,
They're close to what they proposed, and not everybody proposed the same thing, though, and that's what we have to figure out. We didn't really talk about it, but the last presenter didn't show us that they were gonna be hosting our backups. Mayor and the tech guy will both be hosting our backups. This guy will just be managing the ones that we already have now, which are not working. So is that safe? You know, do we have backups on both coasts? Because we had 2 presenters say that we did for them, but, you know what I mean? So the costs are similar, but the services are not all the same. Even though it says backups, it's not the same thing.
valid point.
Which is when you narrow this down and bring them back for maybe another Q&A session,
Right.
you can start honing in on those things.
Yeah, it won't be a presentation then, it'll be more or less an interview.
Yes.
Okay. And
Do you all have any experience with your individual departments on anybody that we talked to today?
I do
Have you worked
not.
with them before? No.
I will say I've always heard good things about our local vendor. I mean, I think he does good work. I've heard other people say that, very efficient, nice guy.
And before we do that, we might want to call some references. If we got references, we can call.
I did have one experience with the tech guys. They come over, we had a camera issue, and they fixed it within a matter, it was quick. I mean, they diagnosed the problem, and it was fixed, so,
And had never been into our system
Never
before
been.
and was able to figure it out.
yeah, they figured it out very quickly, so.
Did they handle security with your office pretty well?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That is one thing, again.
They were on site, actually. They came on site to fix the problem.
I think you guys got some quality presentations today.
I was very pleased with all of them. Just makes the decision hard.
That's good problem to have.
Absolutely.
I think except for one that would actually result in over $10,000 in savings from what we were paying before. So that's good too.
So, do we want to have give each one of us give a 1, 2, 3 listing and schedule it for the next meeting, or what do you want to do?
I'm gonna refer that to the chairman.
It's up to you guys,
You want to give
whatever,
your opinion?
whatever you wanna do. The RFP says that you will select the vendor at your next board meeting. So if you wanted to stick, I mean, but it also says dates can be changed, you know, as necessary, if you guys find it necessary.
Well, we can have them at the next meeting and do the question and answer, and then we can pick one.
Yeah, you could do that. Or if you want it before then, you want me to schedule something, just let me know. Or if you want them at the next meeting and then not make, you know, postpone the decision, if you, whatever you wanna do. I just need to know what
Can
it
we
is.
just clarify a list of questions via email that Angie could furnish and communicate with our top 3 or whatever that is?
Yeah.
Now, are you bringing them in kind of one at a time again and ask no questions? Are you gonna have all 3 of them here and say, okay, who can provide us with on-demand reports and let all 3 of them answer?
The format, I really don't care. But I do think we ought to have a list of questions that we ask, the same questions to the same people. Our concerns, the same questions to the same vendors that we're gonna do. And personally, I wouldn't want to do it in a meeting. I'd like to have a separate meeting and ask them. That's my opinion.
And individually, not.
Yeah, there's a good dynamic when the people competing for the bidder in the same room, answering these questions.
Yeah, but same question, just like interviewing for a job, and that's what they're doing. I mean, you know, the way we conduct interviews before, have a list of questions, bring them in, of our concerns, your concerns, that you can convey to us. That's what I'd like to do.
Okay, do we want to do a special meeting before the next regular meeting or after?
I don't care. Throwing a cog in this thing, I'm gonna be gone the next 2 weeks on Monday through Thursdays.
We can go on next Wednesday and Thursday.
I'll be here both Fridays.
Is anybody opposed to just sending them a list of follow-up questions that Angie will send to them?
I have no problem with that either.
No.
Yeah, we actually, that would answer our questions.
And it would allow us to vote at the next regular meeting, not to schedule an additional one, if we could do it via email before next Friday.
Which is the way the RFP is written. It's written for the rest of this week and for next week. up to
Actually, why don't we do that?
Friday to ask
That's a
for
good idea.
questions.
Why don't we get a list of questions, send it to them,
A week from Friday, yeah.
and have them answer it, and then we can, by the way they answer the questions. Okay.
Which 3 are we sending?
Well, the way that I rated them at the end, is I think definitely the CDS, Mayor, Network, and then Tech if we want to give her a local. And actually, the way that I have them rated is Mayor and CDS is 1 or 2 interchangeable as far as what I've got.
That's the way I am.
That's the way I see it.
If I had to pick one today, it would be Mayor.
Yeah, I agree.
They're both close.
I can try to put together, I mean, I took a lot of notes while they were all talking. I can try to put together something with the vendors on there and then different points, like, you know, are they gonna host our website? Are they gonna design a new website and kind of mark the boxes, you know?
Well,
talk
and
about
let me tell you
like
something,
each person.
the last 2 that through the website that they would host and or design, and then wasn't it Mayor that said that they would do it, that was a bonus, that they would do
Yes,
that?
if you sign 3.
3-year contract.
Yeah,
They'll design it and post it.
Which to get the competitive pricing for CDS to be in line with everyone else, you're also gonna need to sign a 3-year contract.
yeah,
Their pricing is much higher for a 1-year and 2-year.
Right.
If you sign a 3-year, they're right in there with everyone else.
but personally, I you know, and I'm sure there's an out in that. there would have to be in some sort of, they would want it and we would want it.
And what's the benefit of securing it for 3 years if there's an out?
Well, I don't know,
I mean-
but there's usually an out in there.
If it completely disappeared,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm sure it's a breach of contract, but it would be a 3-year, commitment to the companies.
Okay, how would you guys, again, as far as your rating, 1, 2, and 3?
I don't know the names of everybody. You asked the name of the one.
The last company.
The
I
last
would
company was
rate
CDS.
CDS,
Would rate very highly,
the one before that was Mayor.
yeah, and then,
And the third would be Tech Guy, I guess.
Yeah, they've already said that, where were you?
Well, I just wanted them in order.
Oh, okay.
Mayor and CDS almost tie, but, there's the local, well, at first I thought local mayor because Carbondale, but then with the other outfit, they have a field office in Marion.
Yeah, the last one had a field office. The one before was Carbondale. This one has a field office in Marion. And I tell you, with the last group, by having the connection with John Murray and that, because you guys don't have to deal with as much. We do with that. And that, when he said that, yeah, we have a good connection with them, I leaned over to Bobby, I said, that's huge.
I was thinking about what Alex said, about making sure on that backup information, that needs to be one of the questions to make sure where the state is going, the encryption, whether they have access to any of it, where they could open any of it or anything like that, because I'm really, really concerned about some of our information.
And I may have misunderstood the last presentation. It looked like they were just gonna try to improve on what we already have, which would, if they were gonna host, it would be an additional cost.
Yeah, I'm sure there's good about both of you know, so I just referring to other counties, but Livingston apparently uses mail for their email.
Yeah, I
And
found that
apparently
a lot.
use the other for their,
IT.
yeah.
How about you guys
That's what
as
Marion
far as
said, and I've just.
your rating?
I'm good with the last two,
Department,
and
but I can find
local
out how
guy,
many
I'm not,
they're happy with.
I'm not that hot on him, just past actions.
Okay, how about the rating on the others?
Well, I didn't see the,
Yeah,
I like Mayor.
this one right here we can't.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So you're bottom two?
I'm gonna call for references, but I'm close, but I need to.
Okay.
Mine was a toss-up between Mayor and Tech Guy. CDS was third, but I like CDS's experience with security. It was the other stuff they didn't mention that was more concerning me, but how do you weigh those things?
Okay. Actually, all the questions I have, I ask.
No way.
Yeah, I'm kind of shy.
Well, and I would say CDS, in my opinion, would be one, if mayors would come on board with the not dialing into the 911 system and would be on site within an hour, to me, that's a tie.
I don't know that he was expressly asked that.
Mm-mm,
We didn't ask that for Tech Guy either.
no, we didn't ask it of anyone,
Until
he
he
was kind of the
volunteered.
one that offered that, which
Yeah.
then made me wish that he would have been the first one, so we could
I
have
mean, I
asked
feel
it
like
before, but.
Mayor will do whatever we want,
Mhm.
I really do.
I do like it that mayor turned around and one of his first things he said was looked at you, Grant, and said, we got some problems.
Mhm.
He was aware of that right off the bat.
Which is what we've been talking about for some time,
Yeah.
that we're aware of.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're in agreement, we're gonna do a list of questions, Angie's gonna put a list together, we're gonna add to it if we want to.
Yep.
And we're gonna.
Angie, when do you need those by?
4 o'clock. Just kidding. I don't
Back to
know.
that poker face.
I don't even
again.
know the day of the week yet. Hold on, it's Wednesday.
We have, of course, on site.
Do you think it'd be possible to have them by Friday?
Yes.
And then maybe I can get them out to the vendors on Friday?
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
Yes.
Do you want me to send it before then?
Can't think of it.
If I send it on Friday, I mean,
I think.
to be honest, they could be working on the weekend if they really want this business.
Several of them did on, so you can see the examples they gave us on a Sunday that they do everything that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so if that's your response time, well,
Okay for you.
So, and then that way we would have Monday, Tuesday, you know, if they respond back sometime on Monday, you'd still have a couple days to review the answers. So any questions you guys have, just send them to me and I'll put them all together. And same thing with Tammy and Grant and Scott and Crystal. Any questions you have, just send them and I'll put them a whole
So
list
close
together.
What's
business
your-
day Friday?
Close of business Friday?
Yeah, if you could do that.
Okay.
I think one of our main questions is on-site, troubleshooting. I'll think about it if we get some more. Because I think some of the other questions I raised were more about county at large, not specifically us, but
Okay.
pertaining to the county at
Actually,
large.
if you could get them to me by like 2 o'clock on Friday, and then that way I'll make sure I get the email out to the vendors
Okay.
before I leave Friday, and they'll have the weekend and Monday and stuff to answer.
And then we're gonna get their response back, and then we're gonna actually vote on Friday.
That's the goal.
All right. I'm good with that.
Yep, me too. Hey, this is a good problem to have.
You may get some insight that we need.
Public comments?
Yeah. Any public comments?
Okay, any public comments?
Any other business?
We lost the public.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
It's good that they were using Mayor
I usually jump in and get that.
before their individual got out, or email.
Very good day, actually.
Yeah, I found that a little odd that the county
Oh,
is using.
Vonda has something to say.
They are, I'm gonna find out from
Ma'am,
It could be that they were with Mayor for emails prior
Yes.
to
Prior
their
to-
individual
well, that's-
IT guy leaving.
Max, you wanna leave?
Say yes. What?
Say yes.
Yes, what?
Commissioner Fox?
Yes.
Commissioner Coley? Commissioner Hart?
It's ma'am.